welcome y'all to Backwoods, Oscura, a podcast dedicated to the lore, legends, and myths surrounding the creatures that may lurk in your backyard. My name's Hewitt.
I'm Chris. So how you doing, man?
Pretty good. I got a new car.
That's good.
And immediately within 24 hours, an 18-wheeler kicked up a rock and broke its windshield.
Well, that's fun.
But it's under warranty from the dealership to be fixed. It's just they hadn't turned in the policy yet, or else I'd already have a new windshield.
Well, I mean, and at least it's a pretty easy fix. And
It is. I mean, they're going to have to replace the whole windshield. It's like a 12-inch crack.
Yeah, I mean, I figure if you have a crack in the windshield, it's not like they can do we're just going to put some epoxy in there or something.
If it was about 4 inches smaller, they would. They could just splooge it and it would be fixed.
Don't put it like that.
I've watched the Safelite commercials on TV, not sponsored by, and the way they do it, it looks like they splooge from a little tube into the crack.
They splooge their tube.
They splooge their tube into the crack and they fix your window. We're never going to get sponsored by Safelite now or any other window repair company.
Does Safelite even sponsor online content?
No, but I know Hims does, and I don't need Hims or what's the one Manscaped to sponsor us, because you and I would just have we'd go full McElroy on a commercial for one of those, and we would, because we'd be like, we got your money, bitch. So yeah, I got a new car. The windshield's cracked. It's not that big a deal. My son had to tell me not to curse as much.
He's like, Dad, stop saying the F word.
No, I did not use that one. I did not use my favorite word. I went, well, shit, at the top of my lungs, and then called the person ahead of me a bastard. Dad, don't curse. All right.
It's like, stop doing that.
Asshole. Dad, I heard that. Shush.
It's like, I know what I'm doing. I'm cussing out this guy.
Dad knows what he's about.
But yeah, I mean, I haven't really done too much. I've been editing a video because I've been wanting to do content creation.
You've played a fudge load of Dragon Age 2.
Yeah, I'm playing a lot of Dragon Age 2. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be able to beat Dragon Age Inquisition before the new one's out. Inquisition
is a big game.
Yeah, especially compared to
2.
Yeah, 2 is pretty small. I'm already in Act 3. I think I've only been playing it a week.
My thing is you can beat Origins, I think it's 30 hours, which is kind of short for an RPG, honestly.
Yeah.
But you can beat 2 in under 20.
Yeah.
And then if you're like me and you're a completionist, you will be playing Inquisition forever and then be pissed because you can get a quest drop at the wrong moment that you then cannot fulfill because the creature that drops the stuff you need for that quest no longer exists in the game.
Oh, so it soft locks you out of some quest?
It happens. If you don't, you could pick something up accidentally. Say if you're in Redwell and you have to defeat so many Red Templars. After a while...
You said Redwell. I think you mean Redfall or Redcliffe.
Redcliffe. If you're in Redcliffe, there's Red Templars. Or you might need to catch some of the rogue blood mages and get something from them. Depending on which side you pick, they no longer
exist.
Well, if you side with the Templars, neither exist after a while.
Really?
Because you saved the Templars from being Red Templars, and then all the blood mages side with the bad guy. There is no saving everybody. This is not like saving the elves and the werewolves in Dragon Age Origins.
Really fun learning about this game where I'm not even that even. I've never gotten that far into it.
You're going to forget it by the time you get to it.
Probably. But what are we talking about tonight?
We are talking about a subject that we have mentioned off and on multiple times, both in the podcast and outside the podcast.
The Popcast?
The Popcast, yeah. The Help Pop Outcast.
Corn Popcast.
Yep, Corn Popcast. We're going to talk about tulpas tonight.
Tulpas?
Tulpas. We've mentioned them a couple times, and
Right.
we've both expressed interest in
Because,
doing this.
mean, it's such an interesting concept.
And I'll be honest, this is not my most researched because I found out last night I had to come up with a second podcast idea.
Well, we could have just done one.
I know, but we have a habit of doing two when we record.
We have when we schedule our recordings, we do 2 podcasts. Usually it's one or the other, but life and other stuff.
But we usually get some charcuterie, we get some good beverages, and then we both exchange a cool story and hang out.
But like this time around, I just wasn't able to.
It's been so busy.
Anyway, so what have you learned about the tulpas?
So let me talk to you about the origin of a tulpa. Now, they started in Tibetan Buddhism. Now, the concept of a tulpa has origins in Buddhist, and I'm going to mispronounce this, Nirmanakya, translated in Tibetan as Sprulpa, the earthly bodies that Buddha manifested in order to teach those who have not attained nirvana. So Buddha went to nirvana, and to teach people directly, he had to visualize a form with his consciousness to appear in front of people.
So he was a creator of tulpas,
Well,
essentially.
we're going to get into that because tulpa this one starts to spread very quickly all over everything.
So it's not just in...
The concept, the term of tulpa started with Buddhism. However, the concept of it pops up in just about...
everything. Okay.
Everything. So, now, it was picked up later by paranormal believers and mystics. So a bunch of people who are not Buddhists got a really cool Buddhist idea and then ran with it. So... the Western understanding of a tulpa was developed by the 20th century European mystic explorers who interpreted the ideas independently of Buddhahood. So, this is listed down here at the bottom. Why white people?
So, yeah, I see what you meant earlier.
Anyway, there's a Western concept that branches completely away from the concept in Buddhism, and the one that we mostly know is the Western concept of a tulpa. Now, a tulpa, by the Western definition, is a materialized being or thought form, typically in human form, that is created through spiritual practice and intense concentration. A tulpa is an entity created in the mind, acting independently of or parallel to the mortal consciousness that did create it. So in other words, you think hard enough and you can create something that might exist on its own.
Right.
Now, it's also known as a Gregore.
That sounds more Western.
It is. Now, it's sort of like a super imaginary friend, loosely, according to this concept. You create them, you think about them, and then all of a sudden they exist.
They're there.
Now, loosely connected to clairvoyance and astral projection in the process, because they're both activities that involve extreme meditation, thought process, thought experiment, to see into the future or throw yourself into another location than where you are. The tulpa's kind of loosely related to them. Now, big thing with the Buddhist concept and the earlier part of the concept of a tulpa in the West is that if they begin to develop their own mentality, if they start to become fully independent, they need to be destroyed.
Uh-oh.
Well, I mean, I'm going to get into some of this with it in a little bit underneath some more information, but it's one of those of, I've made this thing and now it's gotten away from me.
It's like the creator is threatened by the creation, sort of Frankenstein deal.
A little bit, or, you make up a story about a certain group of people maybe taking and eating something that they didn't do, and you completely made it up, but now enough people believe it that even though it's 100% false, there's a very large portion of the American population that believes it's true. So is this actually a metaphor
for lying?
It can be connected to that. Now, tulpas have gained a lot of popularity since the birth of the internet.
I thought you were about to say the birth of Jesus.
No. Since the birth of the internet, the number of tulpas has greatly increased, or things that could be identified as a tulpa has increased.
That's kind of like the nature of the internet, because there's a lot of things that just start having a life of their own once you post it on there.
Well, the thing is, the internet has popularized, or in some cases, depending on who you ask, ruined the concept of the tulpa, because the modern version of a tulpa has little to absolutely nothing to do with the Buddhist religious belief of a tulpa.
I can see that. Yeah.
It is the McDonald's to the hamburger, which probably is not the best thing to do because Buddhists are vegetarian in the most part. But
I know what you mean.
It's like if you think a McDonald's hamburger is a real hamburger.
Yeah.
It's no.
Yeah.
Or if you get authentic Mexican food north of Tennessee.
It's probably not.
It's not. I'm sorry. It's not northern people.
I remember going to the weirdest experience, and maybe this is something, if anyone is out there that listens to the podcast, maybe explain this to me on our Facebook page, Backwoods Obscura Podcast. There was actually a moment, like, I was really young going to Rhode Island. First time I was in, like, you know, the colonies, so to speak. You know, 13 colonies area, old colonial. And I was in the mall, and one of the places was called, like, Cajun Buffet. And
no.
I was walking up there. I was curious.
How sad were you?
I wasn't sad. I was perplexed because when I went to it, it was not Cajun. It was not like Louisiana Cajun food. It was like Hawaiian food or something like that. And I was wondering, like...
Yeah, Cajuns and Hawaiians, totally the same thing. I mean, I can understand someone mixing up Creole and Cajun.
So I'm wondering if the word Cajun has, like, other meanings in cuisine.
I think it just means spicy anywhere else. Because remember when McDonald's had the quote-unquote Cajun chicken sandwich?
I mean, but that feels like when McDonald's does it, it's like, okay, we just put some Tony Chachere's on some burgers.
They didn't even do that. They threw they waved a bottle of hot sauce by it.
They're like, we'll give you the essence of paprika on here or something.
We added extra pepper. Like, I had a spicy chicken sandwich because Louisiana was always a spicy chicken sandwich.
Yeah.
But the rest of the country called it Cajun. Maybe Cajun food is a tulpa for the rest of the country.
Yeah, maybe.
But the thing is that the modern concept of a tulpa is very similar to the Ouija board. That it is a popularized form of entertainment today more than what it actually was meant to be. Because the Ouija board is based off of stuff from China.
Really?
I believe it's China. I might have to go and double check this. People out there on the internet at me with this. But I do believe the Ouija board, Milton Bradley went, hey, here's this ancient game from this far eastern country. We'll sell it to kids. Milton Bradley, the Ouija board is basically Yu-Gi-Oh! Because, like, here's a card game. And next thing you know, kids are literally summoning fucking dragons.
Okay, my understanding of the Ouija board, and, like, to be clear, I've never researched this. I don't know for sure. But, like, my understanding was always it was, like, something that was used a lot in spiritualism. Like back in the 1800s and early 1900s?
I think so, but at the same time, I feel there's a high level of appropriatism.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You know what? That's actually a fun one we should research is the history of the Ouija board. I think that would be a bit of some obscura.
Or just spiritualism.
Oh, I'm getting into that.
But, well, let me finish what I was going to say.
Sorry.
That's right.
I'm going to steal a piece of this.
It's my podcast now.
I'm stealing this bit of walnut cheese.
I guess it was technically half my podcast anyway.
And this last olive.
But yeah, like I always thought it was like something that some kooks in like the 1800s came up with, and then Milton Bradley was like, "Yeah, we'll just have this and just like market it as something that you can speak with dead with."
What do children deserve? The ability to speak with the dead.
Hey, Timmy, you lost your mom? Here you go. You can speak with her again.
Oh no, it's a demon.
It's like Beelzebub. It's like, yeah, I'm your mother. You sound just like my mother. She smoked 4 packs a day.
Oh shit, kid. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
What year is this? 1958. Oh shit, this is worse than hell. You know what? You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and give you a World War II surplus Hershey bar, a radioactive toy, and wish you the best of luck. And that's why Jeff Bezos That's why Jeff Bezos has no hair now.
God damn it.
I'm sorry.
You had to bring it to Jeffy. You know, someone made the joke that Jeff wanted to be a dragon.
Well, he is. He hoards fucking everything, man.
Okay. I forgot where we were. Who knows?
I don't. But I'm not for crackering tea.
You're a cracker.
Future Chris?
Future Chris is going to hate me.
Future Chris, when you're mad at us, when you're listening to this, remember the beer cheese and the beer and mustard cheese that we ate this night fondly.
That's going to make me madder.
Well, then we just gotta go to a Whole Foods and buy some nibbles.
Some nipples?
Nibbles.
Oh, nibbles.
Mm-hmm. Not gonna lie, the first time the person working there, when I was in Shreveport and went to their Whole Food, oh, you're looking at the nibbles. What? Because I thought he asked you're looking at nipples.
So...
No, but they call their little cuts off of cheese.
Yeah, I know. It's just like...
They also have nibble sausage, which is now which I think is going to be a euphemism I use in D&D for something. But it's the cut off of the sausage that they were using for free samples. So you get like this much for $1. You get this much for $1.
You get a couple of inches for $1. It's a real deal.
You know what? You couldn't be mad at getting 3 inches for $1. If Subway offered you 3 inches for $1, you might buy that sandwich.
Oh, God.
You might buy that slider.
This podcast is going off the rails.
Okay, so you mentioned spiritualism, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're getting into a little bit of that, and let me go ahead and tell you, I'm going to go ahead and hit my sources real quick at this point.
Right. I'll let you do that.
So I'm going to get the 2 unreliable sources out of the way immediately. I did go to Wikipedia for a lot of this. Mostly because there is so much bullshit about tulpas. And I mean, when I say bullshit, Reddit posts. We're going into why. The other one is mythosandlegendsfandom.com.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, I went to a Wikia. These 2 gave me some general information and let me know what I needed to search. Because then, my other sources is McKells, NL, and Laycock, JP 2015, Tracking Tulpas and Exploring the Tibetan Origins, in quotations Tibetan, of a Contemporary Paranormal Idea. Nova Religo, the Journal of Alternative and Emergent Religions, Volume 19, Issue 1, 87 through 97 pages. Juliana A., 2020, on Tulpas, unpublished paper retrieved through Google Scholar and JSTOR on May 12th. So I was able to read that one. And Isler JJ, 2017, Tulpas and Mental Health, a study of non-traumatic plural experiences, research in psychological and behavioral science, 5.2, 36 to 44. So 2 of my sources are 100% not reliable. The rest of them are scholarly articles.
So wait, what am I getting into? Because I don't feel like we had anything scholarly pop up.
No, but if you want some fun articles, go to Google Scholar and type in what you're looking, and you will find that people have written legit college papers on the shit we're talking about. So, peepers.
Oh, so peepers.
Peepers that are way smarter than us, guys.
They're way smarter. They got the big brains over there. Hi,
Look, when I was in college, if you told me I could get a doctorate while talking about cryptids, I'd have a completely different trajectory on my career path.
I might actually have a
degree.
Yeah.
So let me talk about theosophy. Theosophy. Theosophy It is a religious and philosophical system established in the United States in the late 19th century. So late 1800s. So just when all of our good occultism and spiritualism's hitting hard. Founded primarily by Russian mystic and spiritualist Helena Blavatsky.
Why am I not surprised it's a Russian?
And based largely on her writings, it draws heavily from both older European philosophies such as Gnosticism and Neoplatonicism, and Indian religions such as Hinduism and Buddhism. So they took some of the Gnostic Gospels and Gnostic Christian concepts that were the weird fringe Christianity that, like, the church decided, nah, son, Nicaea says you full of shit. Because I want everybody out there, remember there was one point in history that all the cardinals had to get together and go, okay, what did Jesus actually fucking say, guys?
It's like,
did Jesus have a talking lion friend? A lot of people are mentioning Jesus had a talking lion friend that hung out with his boy, Joseph.
Yo, why do they keep talking about Jesus beating up bankers with a whip? I don't see. It's in there.
That actually is. Yeah. That's 100%.
Shit.
Like, always remember, if the option is what would Jesus do? Braid a whip from your own hair and whip a motherfucker is an option.
I just like the idea of like some priests being like, oh, whoops, we fucking forgot all about that. Like, we're just out here, drinking.
Well, to be fair, for a long time, priests could marry. It was in the thousands. Like, it was sometime after 1000 AD that priests could no longer marry.
I feel like I always felt like that was more of a recent thing in terms
of... 1000 AD is not fucking recent.
Okay, in comparison to religion, okay? Like, if you talk about pagan religions, like if you talk about, like, the pantheon of, like Greece or... Fuck.
But if you talk about like the religions in Babylonia, if you talk about any of the old religions, the old gods,
they're like, we had our stature, but they're not like pious like Christians are.
You saying Christians are actually pious?
Look,
at some point they were, but no, it's to going into the whole thing I mentioned about priests couldn't marry. The reason they say that is because Jesus never married, and so you got to be married to the church. But the thing is that one of the Gnostic Gospels that led to this like whole holy bloodline, and that there are people who could actually have Jesus blood still, is in one of the Gnostic Gospel of Mary Magdalene. Jesus was a 30-year-old Jewish man. What is especially a conservative, I shouldn't say conservative, but a traditional Jewish man supposed to be by 30? Married. So in the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, Jesus and Mary Magdalene married, and they had a child, and that child then had other children, and those children became the kings and queens of Europe. So supposedly the nobility had Jesus' blood in them. Now, for a while, people might have used that idea to legitimize themselves, because you can't argue with me if I'm God's kid. But later on, that idea got quashed with the Cathars and a couple other religions that ended up running afoul of the Catholic Church and then getting a crusade called in Europe on them, which, by the way, was what my thesis was going to be on when I wrote stuff for history, when I was going to try to get to a PhD program.
Oh, nice.
So, Gnosticism heavily influenced Theosophy. Now, it's totally not a religion, but it's organized like a religion. They're like, we are not a religion. This is the bishop.
Like, it's like...
Or this is the Grand Master.
Like, when you think of any, like, pseudoscience, it's like... Or, like, chiropractic. It's not a religion. There's some weird religious beliefs behind it.
I almost made a warlock patron that was the Crackaback.
Okay.
I really was tempted to play an undying warlock, and I was going to be a chiropractor.
Okay.
Think about it. Yeah, think about it. It
sure.
works. It works on how the knowledge of that one came out. That's another one we could research, is the history of chiropractic and why you shouldn't go do it.
Lord.
At the same time, sometimes I desire to be cracked like a glow stick.
Okay. As far as I know, when it comes to chiropractic, this is a tangent. Not all chiropractic is bad, but on a whole, you will have better results going to an actual physical therapist.
Yes.
Like,
Who did not learn their lessons from a ghost.
Yeah. Anyway.
So, Theosophists lay out a set of teachings. I'm going to have trouble pronouncing this. The Theosophical Society itself states it has no official beliefs because not all the members could agree on them.
Oh, that's fair. It's like...
We don't have an organized set of beliefs because we all couldn't agree on what the beliefs were. We're totally not a religion, but this is the Grand Master.
Hey, Tim. I think God's a donkey. Cletus, you're dumb. God's a duck.
Now, it began to decline in the 1920s when the Great Depression hit. Most occultist and spiritualist movements really faltered when the Great Depression hit because it's really hard to be in-depth and spiritual when you're fucking starving.
Right.
I hate to say it that way because it sounds very judgy, but let's be honest. Aleister, think about, we'll eventually talk about him, but Aleister Crowley, a complete charlatan.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people like that were the same thing. Like, there is a reason why when we did steampunk, my bad guy was a Southern Baptist-esque charlatan preacher for the bad guy side. And I used the freaking strategies of people like Crowley, Huey Long. I can't remember, Father something that was from Minnesota. I went and looked at demagogues, and the thing that's terrifying to me now and why I don't bring that character back for things like I thought to do because it'd be fun is because motherfuckers are doing it again today. And the same garbage strategies
are showing up.
Showing up and working, and I'm afraid I might do something as a joke and it become real, which again ties back into what I'm talking about with tulpas.
Yeah.
Now, let me describe a tulpa to you, because I got theosophy out the way. I am not going any deeper into spiritualism or occultism, because I read 3 other scholarly articles about this that are not quoted here because I just got done with it. I don't want to talk about spiritualism because it starts getting too real too fast on something that I believe was complete hogwash that, seriously smart people like Arthur Conan Doyle, who wrote so many books, Mark Twain.
Yeah, I know he delved into it.
Not just that, but terrible people like Woodrow Wilson even delved into it. Which, by the way, anybody that's out there that wants to at me on Woodrow Wilson, go read what that man actually did. He resegregated our government. So, let me describe the modern concept of a tulpa.
Thoughtform.
Yeah, Thoughtform. Can be only in someone's head or seen by the person who creates the tulpa, unless you create a really good tulpa.
So if you create that good tulpa.
Yeah. It can actually manifest, supposedly. Now, Anne Bettersent, Theosophists, divided them into 3 categories. Forms in the shape of people who create them, so they look like you.
Oh.
Forms that resemble objects or people and may become ensouled by nature spirits or by the dead. So, you could technically create a tulpa that could get possessed and give Pazuzu a new vessel.
So, you could accidentally be like, oh shit.
I thought processed an actual sleep paralysis demon. My bad, world.
Damn it, Luton now has a big body. And I just walk into my kitchen and you just hear, God damn it, he's doing it again.
Chris, are we about to throw hands with a 5-foot-tall Luton?
Yeah.
Luton.
No, the Luton looks like me. Is my height.
But you know what? Let's at least make it cooler. Your Luton would be your height, look like you, but you're dressed as Gambit.
Oh, Lord. I don't know if I could pull off the Gambit look.
No, that's why we would do it. And that's why we would just start laughing at it. And that's how we defeat the Luton. It's like, look at you with your big ass fucking head trying to wear that mask.
It's like, you know, I got a knife.
Bitch, just energize that. Then I'll believe you, Remy.
You just see the knife glow, and it's like, oh, fuck. Oh, shit.
Just like I said, all right, Remy, we can work. We can work. You come with us now. We taken the world by storm.
And then, fucking what's his name shows up.
Channing Tatum. You know, my money's on Channing.
Channing Tatum shows up, fucking...
Which, by the way, technically that version of Gambit from the Wolverine versus Deadpool could be considered a Tulpa.
Oh!
So, but Anne Besant Theopis, she said they look like either you. They look like objects or people that could be ensouled by nature spirits of the dead. Or they represent inherent qualities from the astral and mental planes, such as emotions. So you literally could summon anger from inside out into existence, and then you got your own little small red version of Lewis Black walking around with you, mad at everything.
Well, I was thinking Dragon Age, where you could like have a sloth or a pride demon.
Yeah, they kind of fall into that category too.
Or even Justice.
So, yeah. So, I mean, I want you to understand, like, the concept of modern Tulpa starts to get really wide and really messy really quick. Which is why I did the research level that I did to this, because if I went super into it,
it would be...
I would probably end up creating a Tulpa to do the rest of the work for me.
Oh.
So, more or less, they can be damn near anything. Now, occultist Alexander Dassid-Neal, who is considered the father of the modern... Alexandra, not Alexandria. That's typo. The mother of modern Tulpaism. Likens Tulpas to a child. You create it, but once it realizes itself and goes on its own, it becomes its own creature, which is why some people believed early on with the concept of this, and once they started to do that, they need to be destroyed, because what you've done now is created a mind child.
I hate it when I create mind children.
We'll stop stroking your brain.
That sounds dirty.
I meant it that way. Now, they can be created by an individual or by a group. Group formation of a Tulpa gets a little scary because of the concept of the mentality of the mob. Now, before I go into some examples of Tulpas that I wrote down that we're going to end up discussing, I want us to go over some of the explanations for Tulpaism. Now, we've already mentioned the religious, the paranormal, the parasocial development of a Tulpa. So many neurologists and psychologists see Tulpas as a sign of mental health issues and neurodivergence.
So, like, if you have any sort of neurodivergence, it might...
There's actually a trend here. Now, they see Tulpas as an imaginary friend used to escape stress, or part of the zeitgeist that spreads so quickly that it begins to develop a life of its own, which the internet has helped to spread the number of Tulpas.
So there's like, I'm sorry for interrupting, but like there's 2 points here. One is like the personal imaginary friend. I think a lot, like, I mean, I think it's a very common thing for people to have imaginary
children, yes, but we're talking about like,
and
people our age.
Okay, so we're talking about full-grown adults having...
So, okay, let's go ahead and make sure, because I didn't say that before. Having an imaginary friend is kind of related to a Tulpa, but it's also something that little kids do to play because they're by themselves.
Right.
And they don't want to be by themselves. The thing with the reason that a lot of psychologists and neurologists liken a Tulpa to an imaginary friend is adults are doing the same thing.
Right.
So, like the internet helped zeitgeist beliefs spread so quickly to create Tulpas. Creepypasta and 4chan are the biggest perpetrators of recent Tulpas in history.
So stuff like Slender Man and this Russian sleep experiment.
Right. These type of things, what happens is let's be honest, most creepypastas are absolute bullshit. But there's just enough to them that your brain starts to kind of think, maybe, especially the shorter ones.
Yeah, well, I can actually speak to this because a lot of the early creepypastas were just like stories that were passed around, and sometimes they were passed around in a way that you really didn't know where they came from. Like, a lot started on 4chan, but they would make their way off of 4chan, and then it would be like a game of telephone.
And that's the modern version of a Tulpa that the internet helps to create. Now, studies have shown that there is a higher rate of ADHD and autism among people who identify as modern Tulpamancers, people who intentionally create Tulpas and study them.
Right.
Now, that makes sense, especially with, like, my child is autistic, and there are several things that he swears to you are 100% real because his brain is very literal. So that does not surprise me that the creation of this type of entity or this type of creature would stem from people that 100% believe it's real, because why wouldn't it be? I can see them, therefore they are real. Doesn't matter if you don't. To me, it's real. Therefore, it's real. So they keep putting that into it, and it could become something, for lack of a better term, real. Lucid dreaming is often connected to tulpas. Self-induced hallucinations have been shown to be connected to tulpas. There is a possible connection between dissociative disorder and schizophrenia with tulpas. The one that I read that was about mental health and tulpas, there is a lot about this, that there is ongoing investigations and research into this, because could a tulpa be, like, if we take the supernatural aspect out of this, could a tulpa be a sign of mental health issues?
This is a very interesting intersection between like science and the supernatural.
This is also why I didn't go heavily into this, because one, I'm also doing research for my master's in administration, to where I'm having to look into mental health. And I'll be honest, I hate to say it this way as it sounds mean, looking into mental health as not a mental health expert is exhausting.
Oh, I imagine.
And I can only imagine what it is for people who,
like, I don't think that's like an offensive thing to say, because mental health is.
I feel bad for anybody that has ongoing mental health issues. Like, we all do. We all do have some level.
Okay,
but like
PSA. Mental health is important.
Yes.
Like, I'm going to get a bit preachy here, but mental health is health. It is just as important as physical health. If you're not mentally healthy, you are prone to do things that you wouldn't otherwise do. So being mentally healthy is good.
Exactly. So, and when I'm saying this, I'm not trying to be derogatory with it. They're looking into the folks that create a lot of these tulpas or really believe in tulpas to see if they might have some other ongoing mental exceptionality that they might need help for, because I mean, this is also kind of loosely connected to the Japanese condition of Chernobyl. I'm mispronouncing that. Chernobyl, it's the one where it's like junior high kids all of a sudden believe they're actually Goku and can shoot laser beams for like a year or two, and then they grow out of it. Like, it's a weird thing that all of a sudden hits.
Like, I had something like that.
Well, we all, here's the deal. Every kid does. It's just some kids get it when they're little, some kids get it when they're older, and we usually associate it with immaturity. But there's studies going into that, because there's kids who legit like, I am the demon lord kind of stuff.
Yeah. I am Lord Piccolo's heir.
Yes, Piccolo and Chi-Chi had an illegitimate child, and I am that child.
Or it's just Gohan. Really?
Okay, that's not Piccolo's biological child, but let's be honest.
That's Piccolo's child.
Let's be honest. Piccolo straight up abused Gohan. We've watched the original run of Dragon Ball Z.
No.
Piccolo straight up abused Gohan.
Even if you take out the filler.
Piccolo abused him and is still a better dad to him than Goku ever was. Like, Vegeta has straight up punched Trunks in the face on camera and is still a better dad than Goku.
Okay, to be fair with that and I say this knowing...
I'm not talking about adult future Trunks. I'm talking about training kid Trunks.
Okay, so I know which part you're talking about. Okay, look, I know I'm about to defend Vegeta right after he killed a bunch of people in an arena to try and get Goku to fight him. But he punched out his son, his 10-year-old son, so he wouldn't try to help him as he tried to defeat Majin Buu and fail. Because that's all Vegeta is good for, is failing.
He is the Renji of the series. Look, the only reason we all think Vegeta's cool is there was still a Yamcha to compare him to.
Okay, like, I still maintain that Krillin is the best character, because he's just...
Here's the deal. I will also defend Yamcha until my dying days, because that dude has a legit job. He makes money. He buys a new... Like, every time they destroy his shit, and then like a week later, he has a new one. Can you imagine what Yamcha's credit score is to be able to get a loan on a flying fucking car?
That man is like... Okay.
That dude's bank. Okay.
He had a baseball career. He's like, I did okay with that. And then he was like, you know what? I'm going to be a legitimate person,
and they say like, oh yeah, I'm just so weak. Bitch, he still took out Raccoon, who had 80,000 power level.
And he's also like, I have a real job, motherfucker. Like, what do? You sit there and train all fucking day. Oh, you go into a hyperbolic time chamber? Fuck you. I have a fucking mortgage, okay?
He just looks at you. Goku, do you know what taxes are?
Can you spell mortgage, Goku?
Do you know what the IRS is, Goku?
Can you spell money for me? Because that's what I have to get to survive.
Hey, see, Goku go money. OXKING. Ox King. he lives on his father-in-law's money. But no, like, can you imagine that, like, the way Dragon Ball Super ends is Goku goes to jail for tax evasion? Because he's never paid taxes. Like, Hercule's over here like, Goku, you tried to farm? Yeah, man, like, I know how to fight, dude. Like, I don't... Anyway, let's get back to the...
I don't know what we're on about anymore.
We ran off on the line because we talked about some other mental issues that are connected to this. Right. And by the way, anybody that's listening, please don't think we're taking this lightly.
Yeah, no. We've suffered from mental health issues. We have friends and family that do. And generally, like I said before, mental health and physical health, they're both important. There's no like less or more important part. Don't let anyone tell you different.
Now, the main thing they also believe is that folks that may not have severe mental health issues, they might be using tulpas as a form of escapism, like we do with D&D,
right,
or other video games. So they create this alter ego. They create this other person. They create this other thing that they can focus on, that doesn't deal with what they're dealing with at that time. So it could be escapism. Now, there are some positive aspects here that mental health experts have shown. First off is the positive aspect is a group thought experiment, because a lot of recent tulpas have been made through the crowd, not an individual.
Okay.
Because someone might have come up with the concept, but everybody's added to it, to where now there are certain tulpas that you cannot say were created by any one person. There's certain concepts that nobody made, just themselves. Also, it can be redirected to be a useful form of visualization. Like, if I can see it, I can be it, to quote a very problematic singer that made a song that was in a very popular animated movie in the 90s.
I can't remember it.
I Believe I Can Fly from Space Jam, sung by prisoner number 1, R. Kelly.
Was that R. Kelly?
Yeah, I did not. I was going to put like a whole line in here. And it's like, let me see who sang this song, I Believe I Can Fly. R. Kelly. Oh, shit.
Was that really R. Kelly?
That was really R. Kelly.
Oh, shit. I'm never going to think about Space Jam the same way again.
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh my God, I loved that movie when I was a kid.
Yeah, when Lola was actually boss.
I mean, okay, like, my big thing is just, I got super, like, I'm getting into, like, a little bit of lore for me, but, like, that was probably the closest I got to actually being, like, a sports kid.
Because, to be fair, it is original Space Jam. His boss.
Yeah, if I would have went down the trajectory, because I had an All-Stars hoodie, I had a Michael Jordan hoodie, not a hoodie, but like the tank top, like the basketball tee, and yeah, if I would have just went down that path, if it weren't for art, I probably would have been like a basketball kid, which would have made sense for me because I would have been.
You're like 6'5", you're stupid tall, like
yeah, it would have made sense.
You would have been just a short basketball player.
Yeah. So I would have been like a defensive player, I believe.
Look, I learned the way I was taught to play basketball was wrong because I was taught street basketball. The one time I tried out for the basketball team, all 5 foot of me in high school at that point is I learned you're not supposed to throw elbows or body check people because those are fouls. I learned to play basketball from my father, who was a quarterback and running back in football.
That might have been why I never really got into basketball, because I was actually a very short kid until like my teens, and then I shot up. I don't know how that happened, but it is what it is.
Now, let's talk about some creatures that are sorta to completely our Tulpas. So this is where I have Hewitt. Remember, there's going to be discussion here. Don't next line. Don't curse so much.
Fuck.
Anyway, so let's talk about the All-Star, the number one. That's right, cracking it for him. The one, the only, created in 2009 by Eric Crunson on somethingawful.com, the Slender Man.
Okay, so we've
so
we've already mentioned Slender Man. As far as I know, Slender Man was kind of he started on Something Awful forums in 2009, but it was kind of
once the gate was open.
Yeah. So the idea of it goes back to MIB. It goes back to the idea.
Well, it's not even just MIB. To describe Slenderman, he is a tall anthropomorphic humanoid with indistinct features wearing something that resembles clothing that may or may not have tentacles coming from his back, depending on this telling. A tall, faceless, skinny creature. The Bagman.
Yeah.
The Sackabilly. Baba Yaga.
And again, I say MIB because initially, his look, the clothing he had was always a suit.
Yes.
And one of the things that was always because he was never especially if you go into the old YouTube shows, but there's all these YouTube shows about him where he wasn't this super tall, gangly, tentacled person. He was just this weird, formless face creature
of a dude in a suit.
Yeah. So the dude in a suit was always a big thing, and it was a big thing before Slender Man, especially when you consider things like Anonymous, which is if I'm showing my age when it comes to the internet, Anonymous is the hacker group.
Dude, Anonymous lives in a nursing home now.
Anonymous lives in a nursing home if you're talking about internet lore. They were really big back when Occupy Wall Street was happening in 2009, but before then they had the Scientology protests, big Scientology protests, which actually popularized the idea of memes and popularized the idea of internet culture outside of 4chan and outside of Tumblr and all these other places. I mean, aside from the toxicity that was 4chan at the time, which is it actually just got worse. But
back in the day when it was only a 5 on the pH scale, now it's a 2.
Yeah. The big thing is when it comes to 4chan, it's just there was always that really toxic element there, but it just flooded.
But to kind of bring it back, the Slenderman also hits there's a yokai that is a faceless man with hands in the eyes. Even that creature even popped up in Guillermo del Toro's Pan's Labyrinth as the Thin Man.
Yeah, the Mitch McConnell looking one.
Oh my God. I never thought about that. But I mean, this type of with Slenderman, the reason that he's considered Tulpa is originally it was started let's make a creepy story. And so it started that way, but the problem is the number of people who thought Slender Man was real because Slender Man hits every single right note. The reason that I don't want us to do an episode on Slender Man, the reason I don't want to focus too much on him right here.
Well, I know where it goes.
Well, Slender Man is not obscure. However, yes, there are stabbings that were blamed on the Slender Man. There's video games based on the Slender Man. There are even some mental health issues that are going to be connected back to the Slender Man because the Slender Man hits all the right notes, but he is a Tulpa because there are people who, honest to God, believe the Slender Man is real.
Yeah.
Now, the next one that falls into this category is the Golem.
Nephilim Golem or...
No, not the Nephilim Golem. I'm talking about the Golem that is in Jewish folklore, such as the most famous situation being the Golem of Prague from the 1500s. Now, a golem, usually a clay or stone man, the name loosely translates to unfinished man or raw material. But like I said a second ago, it's a creature of Jewish folklore, but it is a creature that you have to put will into. However, they can become sentient.
Is that why a lot of... Okay.
Like, Frankenstein technically falls underneath the category of golem.
I was going to say, in dwarven lore, oftentimes you see golems as part of their lore. And I know that the original... It's like Tolkien talking about, like, the dwarves being inspired.
Yeah, a lot of stuff with dwarven folklore is actually connected to Judaism.
Yeah.
In fact, that's the reason why some people get onto Tolkien, because there's a lot of racist tropes about Jewish people that showed up in dwarves, like gold fever and stuff like that are 100% not true, but also dwarves having large, prodigious noses and thick beards.
But I, like, okay, even knowing that, I don't know if it... I'm defending Tolkien right now.
Well, I'm not saying don't defend him. What I'm saying is that the concept of a dwarf before Tolkien, a dwarf could have been of any size.
Right.
Like, if you look at Norwegian folklore, dwarves are shapeshifters. Like, Fafnir, the dragon, was originally a dwarf that changed his form to protect his gold. So, but a lot of what we think about, so dwarves and golds kind of go together because they have kind of a Jewish heritage. Now,
and to be clear, with and being someone that's been watching Rings of Power and been like reading and learning about Tolkien lore, not from Rings of Power, mind you. Rings of Power is problematic in terms of like how it portrays Tolkienism. Of course, you could say that with the original Lord of the Rings too, but original Lord of the Rings movies, that is.
Look, y'all that are all mad that female dwarves don't necessarily always have beards.
Yeah.
Even in Tolkien's writings, some female dwarves had a recessive trait that did not have beards. But also the reason they're going to have that more prevalent on a TV show is, think about people that are getting mad because, hey, we're going to put feminine hygiene products in bathrooms. If they saw a woman with a beard on a TV series, they'd lose their shit. It's so that the normies don't pitch too much of a fucking fit.
But, like, the big thing I read is, like, elves and dwarves and Tolkien lore. Like, it's not just about, like, their, where he draws inspiration from in the real world. It's more that, like, elves and dwarves embody certain traits about people. Like, so the dwarves are, like, hyper masculine in terms of, like, you know, they're burly, they're hairy, they
craft, they work with their hands,
and they're
they
very
make.
crass, they're very open. The elves are very feminine. The elves have like this sort of like elegance to them, and that's why like it's interesting seeing like Gimli and Legolas start to not that like they're lovers or anything like that, but it's like,
well, depending on who you ask.
Yeah. It's like seeing like these two opposite sides. Yeah,
it's Gimli and Legolas are the Reese's peanut butter cup of the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
But along those lines, and to get back to our point, with the Golem of Prague, it was originally created to defend Jewish ghettos and towns from pogroms. Because sporadically throughout the Middle Ages, what do you do when you have a plague? You find someone to blame, and you blame.
Right.
And a lot of times the Jewish people or the Romani caught the blame. So the Yosef, depending on the story, it's either Yosef or something else, was a rabbi, and he created the Golem of Prague. He put the Kim, which is spelled with an S, but he put the Kim in its head, and it was to defend. Now, fun fact, it could sometimes turn itself invisible, and it may have been able to summon the dead. So I'm bringing that into my D&D games in the future, that golems,
I was going to say,
golems can cast invisibility and might be able to raise the dead.
I like the idea of like a protector golem, in the sense that like, okay, there's two types of golems usually in D&D. There's the rock / stone golem that is like just like a pet of a mage or some shit. And then you had the flesh golem, who is also a pet of a mage, but is also a fucking abomination of man.
Well, I mean, that's what the modern concept of golems are. But if you ever read Terry Pratchett's Feet of Clay, the golems are supposed, like, everybody believes golems in the city of Ankh-Morpork are mindless servants. But it turns out they're actually free thinking. And by the end of it, one of them, Dorful, whose name is spelled Doorfull, because when he comes into a room, he is a Dorful, becomes a watchman, and he's completely sentient. And one of my favorite things is he goes, I will have a discussion with you about a god that is benevolent when I can actually have one that does not use force in its argument. And he gets struck by lightning. That is an invalid point. Your god is fake. Like, it melts the armor off of him, but the golem is 100% a logical creature. And this, and like, literally said, I will sit down and debate religion with you when you have something of other than believe it because they're God as your answer. And it's the reason I love Terry Pratchett in the Discworld series, is because it does stuff like that. Now, a follow-up to the golem, a very close relative to the golem, is the homunculus.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of the homunculus.
Do you know how a homunculus is made?
Very, very nasty.
It's gross.
It's nasty. It's gross. It's it's some gooner stuff right there.
Yeah, you take your...
Yeah, you take the seed.
You take the seed, you put it in a jar, you make a womb of horse poo, and you put it in there and you leave it alone. Until eventually, after...
Does it have to be a horse?
Yes, specifically it has to be a horse, as written by the great alchemist Paracelsus, who has been in so many different books, animes, and manga.
Were they a horse girl?
No, Paracelsus might have been fake, might have been real, might have been the illegitimate child of someone, and they were just sent to school to be like, hey, don't fuck with your brothers being a legitimate heir. Anyway, when they first appear, they form as a tiny, semi-transparent human, and if you feed them correctly, you get a tiny, artsy helper that will do things for you.
Now, does it look like...
It looks like a tiny human. Depending on the source, it looks 100% like a tiny, like, foot-tall human.
Okay, have you seen the music video for Tool's Schism?
Yes, and I hate Tool.
I mean, I'm not asking you about your music preference. I know that's bad, but I'm
100% right on Tool.
I don't care.
Tool is garbage.
Okay, but I'm asking you about the music video.
Yes, I've seen it, and that would fall underneath the definition of a homunculus.
Like the little babies, little baby boys that are like pulling out the little
yes,
little tree mans from the face.
Yes,
and then they're biting.
Yes,
they're doing the biting.
Yes, all of this would fall underneath the possibility of a homunculus. The next one,
Tool is good.
Weird Al's the best musician of the last 40 years.
That tells you all you need to know. Anyway,
to be fair, I might not be wrong with that with the range that man has.
He actually, okay, like...
Legit has good musical talent.
Okay, like, we're memeing right now, but, like, when it comes to Weird Al's, like, musicality, he is amazing.
Range.
I'm not a fan of his, like, in terms of music, but, like, I can respect the game.
Now... another one that I'm going to name right now, and then we're going to do a speed round. Bao Eq is a shapeless creature that awaits for someone to climb the steps of a tower in Malaysia. As you climb the tower, it becomes more and more clear and starts to take form. If you reach the top and you achieve nirvana, it becomes fully formed and also reaches nirvana. However, if you fail to reach the top, it will fall back to the bottom and cease to exist.
Oh, no.
This is the saddest spirit creature I've heard of. Is like, I live on the stairs. It's a stoop kid. It is literally a stoop kid that will only exist if you can make it all the way to the top of the stairs. So get your leg game on.
I'm just thinking of Schoolhouse Rock. I'm just a Bill.
You know what? The Bill from Capitol Hill is a Tulpa.
He's like, can you make it to the top, to the Senate, to the House?
Okay, so I'm going to mention some TV series and other media. The movie If.
Or if, as in IF?
IF, the big IF that has Ryan Reynolds. It's about imaginary friends. They're tulpas.
Okay.
Because they're completely sentient, separate creatures operating on their own without their original creator. The show Supernatural dealt with them, but much like most Monster of the Week style shows, they found a concept for a creepy creature and then made it into a 100% a bad guy.
I believe in that, like, they used... in that it was the first season, and the Tulpa, like, okay, the people that created the Tulpa used like Blue Oyster Cult's symbol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next, let's see. They appear in the Dresden Files book series, but with the creature of a baka or a baku, which looks like a teddy bear elephant,
Baka.
which is a actual yokai that's been created in the last 20 years of something that feeds off your dreams. It is something that is completely recent, but is now considered official amongst people who believe in yokai. Kuatoa in D&D create their own gods.
Ooh.
So that is 100% Tulpa. So now, let me do a speed round of things. Tell me if they are or are not a Tulpa. The Boogeyman.
Tulpa.
Tooth Fairy.
No.
Yes. Santa Claus.
Yes.
Yes. Babadook.
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 No.
Yes. Because there's a lot of people because that movie got so popular, there are people who believe that Babadook is real.
Okay, fine.
Bloody Mary.
Yes.
Tyler Durden.
No.
Yes.
God damn it!
In the movie, he is 100% a Tulpa.
In the technical sense, the narrator has mental health issues that have not been addressed, and he takes it out on other people, and especially beating what's his name's face into a pulp, which I'm fine about.
Spike.
The guy, oh fuck, not 30 Seconds to Mars. Is it 30 Seconds to Mars?
I don't know who's the dude he beats the fuck out of.
The guy
in that
that played the Joker in the Suicide Squad.
Was Jared Leto in Fight Club?
Yes, he's the guy. Okay, so you know the guy that he beat the shit out of?
That was Jared Leto.
Yeah, that was Jared
I did
Leto.
not know that was Jared Leto. He needed to hit him harder.
Yeah.
For real.
That's why his face was all fucked up in that last part, so it's, whatever.
Let's see. Polybus.
I don't know. Yeah, sure.
Do you know what Polybus is?
No.
Polybus was a arcade cabinet that supposedly appeared throughout the 80s. It caused kids to have seizures.
No, okay. Yeah.
That's 100% a Tulpa.
It's the one that was done, supposedly done like by the FBI or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Bigfoot.
Sure, we'll go.
No, because Bigfoot is a religious believed in creature by multiple people, which means he's still a Tulpa.
God damn it.
Jesus Christ.
I'm not going to answer.
Depends on your belief system whether or not he was a real person or if he's a fictive creation.
Here at Backwoods Obscura, we respect all religions except Scientology.
Anything can be a Tulpa. A lot of the things that we believe in and say are real could, by the loose definition of the Western idea of a Tulpa, be a Tulpa, because if you believe in it enough, it becomes real.
I need to ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Is the idea of a Tulpa?
Yes.
Fuck.
But no, that's the thing here is that, and it's the reason why I didn't go deeper than I did, because I realized quickly, like, hey, here's a weird idea that's kind of cool, and then it started getting very academic very quickly.
I feel like this. Okay, so this is one of those episodes that I feel like we can get a lot deeper into.
Oh no, we could 100% come back to this. We could make this a two-parter and come back and talk about Tulpa in a year, and it could be completely different than today, and it would still be correct, because, like, is a Tulpa real? You know what? I'm going to say this. I think a Tulpa could be real to the person who creates it.
I was going to say, like, I think the idea of a Tulpa is potentially real in the sense that it is a concept that we create.
Yeah, we do this all the time. We've always created Tulpas. You have a conversation with yourself. Could technically be you're talking to another you, trying to work stuff out. The thing is that, do I personally believe that if you sit down and think hard enough, you create something real? No, I do not. However, with a Tulpa, that does not matter, because a Tulpa is real to the people who make a Tulpa.
You know, I forget who told me this saying, when you're alone in the woods and you see a horse with a horn, you're like, that's a unicorn. And in the same instance, you might see a horse, or you might have like a bunch of people with you, and you see a horse, and suddenly you see a arrow in the head. And that's kind of how I'm like thinking about a tulpa. It's all about perception.
It is.
Maybe
because I mean, when you're coming down to it, you're talking about what's operating inside of someone's mind.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I didn't want to heavily get into this, because this topic could get heavy really quickly, and it could also skeeve the both of us out very quickly if we took this 100% seriously instead of being us.
This could go into like straight up existential crisis.
Yes, 100%. And the thing is that for me, tulpas are not real, but for a lot of other people, they are. Therefore, I cannot say the tulpa effect does not exist, because it does. This is a real thing. Just whether or not it actually exists all depends on your perception.
I'm gonna be annoying here and say that it exists, yet it doesn't.
That's what I just said. You just said it more directly. I mean, it's like for you and me, we're looking at this going, nah.
Yeah. It exists in the sense that like there is a psychological phenomenon that makes us create these things, but at the same time, the actual idea of the spiritual.
Well, the thing is, and something I really don't want to get into that this connects to, is this can also connect to glitch in the matrix.
Oh yeah.
Like all of a sudden you wake up and the person you've been married to for years apparently never.
Yeah. Or like you were like in an accident and the last 40 years were fake or something, and you just wake up and you're in college or something.
Yeah, that's like one of the weird things with this that I don't want to seriously get into it, because it starts getting into some things that make me slightly uncomfortable.
That gets into like perception and your mind.
And at the end of the day, with perception in mind, who are we to say what is or is not?
Yeah, it's kind of the idea. It's like, does the mind build everything around you, or is your mind just reacting to like the stimuli? And it's kind of like back and forth on what that really is. And also, this is getting a bit heavy.
Yeah, I'm going to say let's call it right here.
Let's call it here. Thank you for listening. This is Backwoods Obscura. I promise we're not as wacky as we are tonight. We release every Tuesday, and we're on most podcatchers. You can catch us on Facebook right now. I sometimes post on there. I'm trying to post more on other things. You know, I'm trying to do the whole social media thing. But the big thing is we are also a charity D&D podcast. And we... okay, let me redo that.
No. You keep going. We are known as Team Bonus Action.
Yeah, we are also Team Bonus Action, and go ahead and take it.
We are currently partnered with Batson Children's Hospital through Extra Life. All donations made to Team Bonus Action between now and the end of the year go directly to them, so that needy parents and children can receive medical care at no cost or greatly reduced cost. And you know what? That's the gift that needs to be kept on giving, because medical expenses are ridiculous if you do not have insurance or someone is out of network. So again, if you can donate, please do. You can go to teambonusaction.com to find out more information.
And I hope you have a good day or night or whatever time it is over there.
Hey, Chris, as you're walking off.
Oh, no.
Does a goth girlfriend equate to a tulpa?
Oh, my God. She's in here with us. Get out of here. We're both married.
Elvira.
Get out of here, Elvira.